What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Don't Quote Us Sports Podcast, the show where the takes are bold, the predictions are shaky, and quoting us is totally at your own risk. We've had a jam-packed week of sports that we'll get into during this episode. SGA takes home MVP, bringing home some hardware to Canada. Then it's playoff madness.
Hell
Pacers
yeah.
shock the Knicks in the Garden. The Thunder dominate the Wolves. And yes, that does make me extremely nervous. Over in the NHL, the Oilers penalty kill might just be their downfall, while the Panthers straight up
Called it.
demolished the Hurricanes. In NFL news, the tush push isn't going anywhere. And finally, there's a big shakeup in the college football playoff seeding. Chaos is coming, and we've got big thoughts. Strap in. We've got takes, rants, and maybe a few regrets coming your way. Let's get into it. But before we dive into any of our topics, I figured introductions are in order, considering this is episode number 1. So, I am Isaiah Matthews, and then we have Big Rob. Big Rob, say hi.
Hello.
And we also have
Hi.
AJ Herb.
Hello. Oh,
Okay, that was very formal. First episode, everyone. Still working
Excited
out
to be
the
here.
kinks, as you can tell.
like we've said before,
Love
we
it.
were gonna
Love
do
sports.
this anyway. We were gonna sit on the phone and talk anyway, so might as well record it.
Yeah, I figured might as well see what happens if we just hit record on it. But guys, getting into the sports themselves, where do we want to start? Because I think the only logical place is to try and dissect what happened in that Pacers
Magic.
Knicks game. last
Magic
night.
is what happened. Pure NBA in the Garden. Haliburton, give me that magic.
Wasn't it magic, man? It was. I know we talked. I haven't seen a special moment like that. The NBA needed that, man. Did it not? We've seen a lot of blowouts this playoffs. NBA needed something like that to happen, and it was great. Following along, getting updates. Next thing I know, they're in OT. Great game.
Haliburton dribbled out of a 2-pointer
So
to try and get that 3.
dude,
Yeah.
the mad dash that he took to the 3-point line
And to keep his toe on
that
the line.
off was hilarious.
Just to keep his
watch.
toe on the line.
Just to keep
No,
his toe on the line.
Imagine
Imagine it's a three.
he
Imagine it's a three.
Honestly,
I'm glad it wasn't.
Honestly, I was hoping it was because that when he goes to the crowd and does the choke signal to the crowd.
Yeah, we don't get that.
Reggie Miller. That would have been. An
I read somewhere that it
all-time
was 30
celebration.
years ago this year that Reggie came back, 8 points in 9 seconds in the Garden to win. Yeah. Andy, that was
And
a
Reggie
choke
was
game.
there.
That was a choke game.
Yeah.
And
Did you see? Did you see Reggie on the He was on the broadcast. And
Yeah,
he,
they
like,
pointed at each other.
Yeah.
insanity.
That's a little.
And then
biased,
he
in my opinion.
to give the ball
At
to
the end of
Cat
OT?
to add to that to give the ball to Cat to end the game.
Oh,
Oh my god! You have that. You have the choke, and then he did the big balls meme. Remember that at the couple games ago? I think it might have been. I think it was first round of the playoffs when he hit that clutch shot. Just ran down the court.
Haliburton might be
It's
him.
fun to watch right now, man.
Haliburton might be him.
Yeah, but background of what we just saw last night to put everything into perspective. So New York led by 14 with 3 minutes left. And going back to when a detailed play-by-play began back in 97, 98, there have been teams leading by at least 14 points in the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter had been 994-0 prior to last night. I don't
That
know
was
how
a
many
stat.
seasons worth of games that is,
That's
but
It's a
that's
healthy
lot
sample
of fucking
size.
games.
That's a
I think
long
that's
time.
a healthy sample
That's a
size.
long time. when I reviewed the game, every stat I saw, every clip, that was something that was like, that's a wild
And then
thing
the
to
Pacers to put out that
overcome.
graphic.
Being down 12 with a minute and a half to go or whatever.
I just love how the game ends, right? You have Haliburton who sends it to overtime, and the recap is only focused on Haliburton. Like Aaron Naismith didn't nail how many clutch threes
In a
and
row.
shots at the end of that game to even for Hallie to even have an
And
opportunity.
that's your fourth
to do
option
that.
guy. That's
I
your
think it was
fourth option
4
guy
or
out there.
5.
At best. At best, that's your fourth option. And he's out there just cooking them.
And I think it was 4 or 5 in a row that he hit.
They didn't even have Turner on the court.
No, they're getting ready for game 2. They knew they had it.
They had fucking Ben Shepherd.
Yeah, Miles Turner over there with the ice packs on the knees. He's
you're wanting
game 2. He said Hallie got it.
I mean, if you're down 16, if you're down 16 or whatever, you take Miles Turner out. I think you just do. I think Shepherd probably gives you a better opportunity from the outside. And you knew going into that you needed a plethora of threes to even have a chance.
Hey, Turner can.
I think that was the game plan.
He's not
knock him down pretty well for a big guy.
It's not like hey, we need a tray.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's not Cat.
Out there. Let's see what Miles has.
We need better than 2. We need a little bit better percentage than a little 2 out of 10 or whatever.
It's more like 2 out of 15.
His percentage
is there every now and again, but
yeah,
but I told you guys, we've talked about this before. I called Pacers 4-1. I said they might give them one in the Garden. I thought maybe last night, fourth quarter, I was like, this one might be done. Okay, I texted you guys, easy one, give it to them in the Garden. Here come the Pacers. They're an elite team. They steamrolled the Cavs. They're going to steamroll the Knicks. We'll see how they do against the West.
With not having any skin in the game, too, as a fan, I just want to see good basketball. I just want to see moments. And last night to have 270 points scored or whatever it was, we needed that, too, because some of these playoff games have been 98 to 106 or something, and you're like, all right, I get that you're playing better defense in the playoffs, but we've seen a lot of moments watching these games that it's just bad basketball, whether it's turnovers,
foul baiting,
bad passes, missed rebounds. We've seen a lot of bad basketball this playoffs. And last night was just a kind of a gleaming hope that we can get a few more of these games in before we get to the end of the season.
I thought the games would be flipped in terms of scoring, though. I thought the East would be the slower pace and the West would be this 250-plus over. Wasn't the case.
Oh, there was no shot that was ever going to happen with OKC.
See, I thought they'd just come out running and gunning and chucking threes.
That was always.
And to their credit, they're trying to chuck threes. They're just not hitting threes.
That's what we're going to see tonight, baby.
Hey, they have to go. They have to shoot better than they did last time. That's all I got to say. I hope, at least. But on the flip side, let's talk about the Knicks for a second. How demoralizing is a victory like that? You're up 14 with 3 minutes left. You're pretty much cruising into
you're cashing it in.
Exactly. What is the impact that has on the team's psyche now? It's essentially what they did to Boston last round a couple times, right? It felt like it swung all the momentum.
Well, even Tibbs said in the post game, Tibbs said,
I
"We
think
let
it's
off the gas." That's not what you want your head coach saying after that loss.
I think it's more than that. I think it's demoralizing as a team. Think about opening up game 1. You haven't been in this spot in a long time. You're at home in front of hard fans to play for. You're up big. You're in the Garden. To let that game slip away is, I think it's a little bit more than what meets the eye. I think it's tough. I think it hits home. I think it's not just a loss. Will it affect it going forward? I have no idea. But I think it's big to have Cat go for 36, 35, whatever he went for. I think Brunson went for almost 45, and you still lose the game.
Yeah, but that's what the Knicks do. The Knicks are
it's a tough
going to
look.
nick. Plain and simple. Like this is what New York deserves
Yeah.
because of how they are. This is what you get. And Indiana, small market, hardworking team. Not much flash to them until Hallie came along. It's Indiana all
Hey, that's
day,
where
baby.
basketball comes from, baby.
It just feels like they have a swagger at this point. Like there is just a cool confidence with that group where they believe that they are in every single game that they play at this point. Even though all the books and everything are going to have them as massive underdogs every single game here on out.
What I like about the Pacers too, is to your point, is when you're watching their games, like last night, guys that you wouldn't think showed up in clutch moments, and that's what you need in these type of games. Like I feel like the Knicks, if Cat or Brunson just isn't carrying it, even if obviously they did last night and it still didn't work out. The Pacers have, any night, Siakam go get you 28 or one of those guys get you a nice 15. That it's hard to beat those type of teams to have more than one or two options.
17, 5.
So a little far off from the 20 and 10.
And he played 43 minutes.
Long way left. But like, where was TJ McConnell? You didn't hear TJ's name very much. TJ's one of those guys that.
Hey, he put up a quiet 10 last night, but he was minus.
He went out and got you.
Floor.
Yeah, he went and got you 10 points in 14 minutes. Those are the type of things you ask out of guys like that.
A role.
When you're on the floor. Yeah, I think this year, with the growth of some of the other cats, they know they can trust him, and I think that's why he might be being put in a little bit more during the playoffs. But those type of stats you're getting out of a guy that plays 10, 15 minutes, if they come out of that with 6 to 8 points, that's what you're asking.
Swing things.
You're not asking him to change the world. Yeah.
One last thing I think to mention here is just the career-changing arc this is having on Tyrese Haliburton. Like, prior to this postseason, the anonymous NBA survey comes out. They're rating him as the most overrated player in the league. Goes to Paris. He's on the bench the entire time as they go on to win gold. And he starts the season slow and then just finds a gear towards the second half of the season, now going into the playoffs. I just feel like the postseason that he is having to date right now, and regardless of if they win or lose this series, changes his perception around the league.
100%. We're talking Supermax shoe deal. He's already in commercials. Get him like this changes everything for him. He is trying to solidify himself as an NBA superstar, and he's doing a pretty good job doing it.
I think for me, I've always been high on Tyrese. I mean, you're leading the league in assists, things like that. I mean, it seems like good things were to come. I don't read a lot.
Not even a touch of bias.
I don't read a. Hey,
those Cyclones.
I'll back it up. I mean, the Olympics. The Olympics, for instance, I don't read a lot into it because Tatum saw the bench, other guys saw the bench. I think this Olympics was a lot of old cats getting their time. But I'm happy for him, man. He seems like a good dude. I think it's a breakout moment for him. I think this allows him to. It's a lot to put on his shoulders too, though, right? It's not easy. And if he does turn into a face of the league type cat, it's not a lightweight to hold. I mean, LeBron's done it for 20 plus years. It's not easy.
The face of the NBA thing, right?
Stay out of trouble.
He doesn't want it.
Stuff like that.
It all up. Like maybe Haliburton's him, and maybe Haliburton is the guy that they're going to try and hitch their wagon to. Why not? The worst part for the NBA marketing is plays in Indiana.
They just got to get his dad more involved. If his dad's going up and shit talking every star player after games, let Tyrese Haliburton's dad,
there,
baby.
host a
As long as it
post-game
doesn't get-
presser for the losing team. ESPN, make it happen.
As long as it doesn't get to a Patrick Mahomes, as long as it doesn't get to a Patrick Mahomes, LeVar Ball type situation, I'm good, man. I like a guy supporting his son on the sidelines, man.
You like it when he runs out to the free throw line after a win?
But going to
You
back to how
you like it when he inserts himself into an NBA game?
Why not?
and start shit talking a 2-time MVP.
I mean, we've seen Shannon shit talk people on the court. We've seen people back
That's
LeBron
different.
on the
Shannon,
court.
Shannon Sharp is famous. Nobody knows who Tyrese Haliburton's dad is.
He plays in Indiana. He's the Shannon Sharp of Indiana. Bro, Indiana has
Did you
nothing.
just say,
You know what I mean?
hold on. Did you just say
So in
Tyrese
Indiana-
Haliburton's father is
Not literally,
Shannon
figuratively.
Sharp or the greater Indianapolis
Figuratively.
Metro? Is
You're-
that what
you're telling
trying
me-
to tell us?
You're
So he's
telling
an
I'm
me
just saying-
he's an Instagram live away.
Tyrese Haliburton's
In Indiana-
dad is walking down the street
Yeah.
and they're just calling him out and being like, "Hey, yo, Tyrese's dad,
Do-
how you doing?"
Do you think the people around the facility know who Tyrese's dad is?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think when he sits sideline, things like that, they let him by, he's not getting ID'd, anything, right? So I would say he's a little bit more. To some of those person's parents, you're not going to know
He is
who they are
hardly
if they go to a Lakers game,
Shannon
things like that.
Sharp.
He plays in a small market. It's Indiana. I'm not meaning literally, just figuratively. I think it's good for Indiana, baby. Let it happen. As long as he doesn't cross the
But
line,
It did cross the
Which he
line.
let him
did. He
let him
did
run to the
cross the
free throw
line.
line.
Why are you going on the court?
Okay. So just because Shannon Sharp is on ESPN, we have to
He's a
allow that.
Professional talking
No.
about sports.
So if
Yeah, I'm
Skip
gonna
Bayless
be
runs to the
but
free
yeah.
throw line and just yells at a player, we're like,
Over
Mr.
Mr. Haliburton?
that's
Yeah.
cool. I love, you know what it is, and I speak a lot of with that. I speak a lot of. I just enjoy the moment. I don't want it to cross the line, but I enjoy like
yeah.
Portnoy at the WNBA game. As long as I didn't cross the line and he's yelling, that's great, bro. I miss the fan. The fan experience is good, and we go to those games. You see people next to you that cross the line, but yelling stuff like that. We've gone to Drake basketball games. It's a good time, man. As long as it doesn't cross the line, and I didn't mean that he can just run out half court every game and grab his son and lift him in the air. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, bro. It's a special moment for him. How he takes that, it's up to him.
Wrestling the assistant GM from the opposing team, luchador.
Have him
style.
come in and have him come in and give the speech. Come in and give a speech. I mean, his son went to Iowa State, for
What does
God's
that have
sake.
to do with anything? What?
He's a Wisconsin cat, number 12 overall. Let his dad
You
cook.
probably bought LeVar Ball. You probably bought Triple B
Okay.
gear back in the day, didn't you?
I hated that. We've talked
What
about
are you
that. I
talking
hated
about?
that. I hated
bought-
that.
I got
That's
it.
crossing the line. See, that's crossing the line.
Oh.
That's where the line
I'm gonna
is, and
get
he
you
crossed
Triple
it
B
by
shirt.
7 miles.
I'm gonna get you a Triple B shirt. Don't worry.
Isn't that like the
You-
big
you
black
gotta
shirt
add-
from Robin
you
Big, or is that
gotta
a
add
different
B. There's a
logo?
third
It's
B
pretty
in there,
similar,
but-
right? Pretty similar.
Big balls,
Somebody might have a
guys.
copyright thing for that.
Guys, switching gears to the Wolves
Oh.
and Thunder series.
Boy.
As we are 5 minutes away from the tip of game 2, which I'll try and not focus on too much as we're recording this.
Catch
Um,
some glimpses.
Yep. But going back to game 1.
Hey,
what do I
Isaiah, where are
have
you
to
from?
say?
Again,
Um,
what's your hometown?
Mi-
Minnesota. How
Where
far
in
away is it from the
Minnesota.
Twin Cities?
Minnesota.
30 minutes. So safe
30
to say
minutes,
you're
okay.
probably a T-Wolves fan then, huh? Fantastic. I'm glad to hear it, bud. I'm so glad to hear that. Fantastic.
Hey, the Iowa Wolves play here, bro.
But I will keep it.
No. Go.
Completely
I want to hear
objective
from a
during this
a
conversation.
Timberwolves fan the assessment of Game 1. Let's hear it.
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. Well, they did the classic Minnesota sports thing where they got our hopes up. Like, we didn't play great in that first half, but if you would have told me that Shea misses 10 or however, like, he shot horribly in the first half. He wasn't getting anything going from the floor. And we have the lead going into half, and our bench isn't playing well and isn't playing all that well. It was really Julius Randle carrying the squad, right? And not just the first half, the entire game, really. But then to just be absolutely dick slapped around during the third
Hell yeah.
quarter,
BBC dick.
that
Oh, bad, sorry.
Oh, we know people who are going to listen
But-
to this.
not even
Cut that out.
not even talking about Minnesota in general. SGA is so fucking annoying to
Good.
watch basketball sometimes. No, I agree.
Here we
He
go.
is a good basketball
There
player.
we go.
But the fucking
There we go.
foul baiting shit that he constantly gets away with is so infuriating.
I have a rebuttal for that, but I want you to get through your synopsis.
There was multiple instances yesterday where if you move that clip into slow-mo, you can see him initiate contact, and then our players pull up, hands in the sky, and he starts leaning and falling over and hoisting up a shot and get the call. That happened multiple times in game one. And it's not even that frustrating, but it's the fact that they have just dogs on defense that are constantly hounding, like Caruso and Dort, that are just up in your shit at all times. And we're not getting any calls, but Shea is literally, from the video, you can see him not being touched by
That
our
was the
players and
difference?
getting foul calls.
That's the difference?
Make it make sense. No, I'm not
It's a
saying
wild
that's
take, brother.
different, but I would love to see some consistency in the officiating. That's for sure. We already have to play on the road against a team that won 68 games in the regular season. We don't need to be playing them and the fucking refs.
I'll admit there was some bad officiating in that game. That's all I'm going to say, but I'm going to let get both sides. Bad
Both
officiating
sides.
in the game as a whole. But Rob, I know you've got some crucifying evidence as to why
let's
the Timberwolves
get it down, boys.
got whooped.
I'll preface this as I have no skin in it. I don't care if he's foul baiting or not. Secondly, I like him as a player. I talked and linked about him being compared to Brandon Roy and other cats. But as far as foul baiting, when we look at the game, I agree there was some plays, and we saw it last night too with Brunson and things like that. I don't like that as part of the game. I think we can all agree on that. But at some capacity, we've seen it throughout the years. You saw the James Hardens, you saw the Joel Embiids. And for instance, the last night, as far as free throws, I think they were 4 or 5 separation, and I think SGA shot 12 free throws. So the 12 free throws to me doesn't. They won by what was it, 30 points?
26.
So, but as far as obviously him winning MVP, that was announced. But as far as recent MVPs that had more, he only averages 8 free throws a game, which I guess seems like a lot, but when you think about it, it's not. It's 8.8 free throws. Joel Embiid, for instance, averaged almost 12 when he won MVP. Russell Westbrook averaged almost 11 when he won MVP. Obviously, James Harden's up there. Kevin Durant's up there. Kobe's up there. He's 12th. So I saw it and I was like, yeah, it looks like a little foul baiting. So I did some research. I think it's a nice headline for a lot of these media outlets. But I think that there was more to the game than that. Because you can't control the refs, but there were a lot of things you could control.
Like points
that just
in
didn't happen.
Paint.
And I agree. No, it's not even that. If you look at Minnesota's bench from that last game, and you have Naz Reid, Dante and Alexander Walker, they were atrocious. They were actually god awful. They shot 7 of 36 overall.
It was
That's
bad. It was bad.
19%, and then went 5 of 28 from 3. Their thought process was, fuck it, one of these got to go in eventually, and they just kept doing it the entire game. I know OKC was forcing them, like daring them to take those shots, but at some point you have to try and manufacture easy buckets.
Yeah, you need, and I did notice that. I'll agree with you on that. Watching the game, Urban and I, we saw we're like, why are we shooting that? And in the first half, Julius Randle that dude was taking borderline logo threes, and we're like, as he's shooting, we're like, why? And then it goes in, and you're like, all right, perfect. But then Naz Reid does it, and I think at one point Naz Reid was 0 for 8. It was, and you need that guy to come out and get you a couple threes, get you 9, 12 points. It's a good day if that happens, right? Especially if some of those are after a timeout, before a timeout. And I'll agree. I think the role players were not there, but I will say it was sort of for me, it was like almost a second half collapse. You had Julius Randle get you, I think it was 20 in the first half. 20 and a half. Me and we were talking about it. We're like, this is, Julius, I slept on him because I'll admit, I wasn't high on him going into the season. He gets you 8 points in the second half. I think Anthony Edwards had 13 or 14 at half. He got you 5 in the second half. So I do agree the role players played a role, but also, I mean, if the role players are struggling, that's a time when the superstars, the guys that are making the 40, 50 million a year, that's the time for them to shine. They got to do a little carrying.
That's where I'm curious in regards to Ant's ankle, because I swear that is
it did look bad. It looked bad.
Fourth time he's tweaked his ankle this postseason alone. Like, I feel like there's at least one point in every single game thus far where I'm holding my breath because I swear to God, I see the replay and I think he broke his ankle. I don't know how he keeps doing it, and I don't want to say anything negatively about his brand deal shoes, the AE ones or whatever the
Supposedly
hell
they're good shoes.
They look good.
I'm starting to think opposite if he's constantly tweaking his fucking ankles wearing them.
Okay, then how about we do like like Curry did years ago and just start wearing ankle.
Tape it up.
Start wearing. I mean, they make cloth ones that make hard ones,
Dude,
or go out with the old tape job. He did go to the locker room. I thought he was cooked. We thought he was done, and then obviously he came back out, but he did go to the locker room for a few minutes. Wasn't a good look. I don't know. That could have affected him too, but that's not the reason Julius Randle didn't score in the second half. That's not the reason Gobert struggled.
We have to talk about Gobert.
But
that's my you guys start going in.
He knows
Gobert.
He knows what's coming.
One other player I want to focus on first. I know it's coming.
He knows we're right, baby.
Jaden McDaniels also is, I would say, is probably the X factor of this series, because he's going to be the one that's constantly responsible for guarding Shea more often than
correct.
Shea or Jalen Williams. And he did really good playing defense against Shea, at least in the first half of game 1. But he still needs to provide something on offense. I'm all for having the defensive stopper out there. Every good team needs a player like that. But when he becomes completely one-dimensional like that, it messes with our entire team's offense. Because if he's not being aggressive, you have Rudy Gobert, who's just sitting in the paint half the time. You're not going to expect Mike Conley to really carry the load by any means. So then it's really just Ant and Julius Randle out there trying to manufacture something on offense, which more often than not, sometimes it feels like they're just hoisting up contested threes, which, yeah, it worked for us a decent amount during the season, but it's not the recipe for success.
No, you need McDaniels to hit you a pull-up three, a transition three.
I agree with that.
A real statement-making three. Like, that's what he's there to do, and he's there to defend. And you're getting half of what you're paying.
I'll agree. Go ahead. I'll agree with that. I think McDaniel, but I look at those. This is just my take, but I look at those players that are guarding the other team's best defender or best offensive player. You're not relying on them to score points, but it's nice if that makes sense. We've seen it all throughout the years where even the Conley back in the day, you're relying on them to play defense, and if they give you 10, 12 points, that's great. But also, McDaniels is known to hit those clutch threes, and those weren't there. But I do agree. I think McDaniels, any of those guys, I think the three of the starters besides Randall and Edwards, I think they had like 17 points total.
Not going to win that way. Not even going to come close to winning that way.
I think seven for McDaniels and 7 for Conley, and then 3 for Gobert, if I remember right. So you need the starters to produce. You need Dante to come off the bench and produce. You need the bench guys to step in, but overall, we just need to see a level of gameplay kind of go up.
Yeah, the tip is going to be any second here now, but I will just preface this by saying the drawer is open. The panic button is in that drawer, and my hand
is it correct?
It is hovering on my chair right now, inches from the top of that drawer.
Well, I'm going to tell you this.
If the first 5 to 10 minutes, just kidding, let's just take the entire first quarter. This will decide this game, because we could come out flat as hell and be down by 15.
I tell you what, if Rudy Gobert, I'm talking about it. I'm talking about
bench Gobert.
We quit dancing around it. Okay, if Rudy Gobert comes out and plays anywhere near the game they played in game 1, you guys might as well pack it up and go home to Minnesota and not come out for game 3. You are paying that guy what, $40 million a year? $40 million. And granted, Rudy Gobert has been one of the greatest shot blockers the NBA has ever seen. That is a fact. Defense player of the year, ever.
One of the best defensive players. Yeah.
And now when it's time,
that's what you're expecting. You're expecting
you get some watered down version that couldn't guard Chet, let alone any other big that OKC has. It's bad. It's bad. I mean, they gave up at one point. They were at 40 points in the paint, if not more. Rudy looked allergic to scoring buckets.
Yeah, I think
he was out of position on defense. Rudy Gobert is lost,
which I'm fine with.
Nothing for you. So I really hope somebody gave that man a pep talk before this game, because otherwise it's done.
Which I'm okay with. When I look at that game as a whole, my biggest takeaway, again, not having any bias, is Rudy Gobert. I think you obviously bring up the foul baiting, role players, things like that. And when it comes to Rudy, I'm not asking Rudy to, again, just like defensive players, I know he's not offensive minded. I know he's not a scorer. It's nice if he does. But when it comes to Rudy, you protect the rim 5 to 7 feet out. That is your fucking dojo, right? That is, anybody comes in that bitch, that's your job. And you're also D'ing up the defender on the other team, which happened to be Chet, sometimes Hartenstein. And I get he only played 20 or so minutes, but there's a reason he only played 20 or so minutes, and it wasn't because of the foul trouble, which was early, and maybe he did sit a little early, so he didn't get some of the minutes early. But the points in the paint, just when you look at the stat sheet for what separated the two teams, like, for instance, you said one, like if you say one team was, foul wise, they just got favored a little bit. They both ended up with 22 fouls. You look at rebounds, pretty similar, not too far off, but OKC did out rebound them when it comes to defensively. But the biggest difference was the points in the paint. I mean, the Timberwolves gave up almost 60 points in the paint against a guy that's 7'1", 7'2". And I get the paint, you're going to have Shea going in there pulling up those mid-range shots in there, and those are going to count.
There were times on a second chance
but that's what you're paying Rudy to do.
Offensive rebound. Rudy's standing behind the guy just watching him eating popcorn, doing nothing. Rudy Gobert.
I agree. And also, I did read the Timberwolves forum. I just like to see how far off I am from the fans. And that was the biggest thing I read was, I think the funniest thing I read, which everybody told you, is why is every time Rudy Gobert touches the basketball, it feels like it's his first time touching the basketball? And it was just rebounds falling off his hands. There was one that we watched. He had a drive down the lane, full on to just go up and dunk it, and he went in his hands, and then he threw it out. And so, like, but I'm not. Again, I didn't hold that against them. I know what I'm getting offensively from Rudy Gobert. But I just need more. He has to do more. He stops 15 of those, 20 of those points in the paint. We got a game on our hands, and
See,
that's kind of what it is.
I just find the entire conversation so funny because when you look at the box score, Rudy Gobert had the best plus minus of anybody that played for the Wolves in Game 1.
Your 7'1" center got you 3 rebounds.
I'm telling you, when he was on the floor, we were.
I get that. That's a respectable stat.
2 points. Anthony Edwards,
But
when he was on the court, we were outscored by 23 points, and he played almost twice as many
then definitely
minutes.
start Rudy.
That is a little tweak though, because you got to think Rudy. If he only played 21 minutes, there's not much data to go off his plus minus. Which I'm not saying you're not wrong in that. That is a good stat to look at.
How many blocks did he have?
But a 7'1" center not being able to out rebound.
Uno.
If I had to guess,
None?
Probably 1.
1 and 3 rebounds. And you're an offensive liability. Hey, listen, if I'm coaching the Timberwolves, Naz Reed's starting at the 5 tonight.
After
he
he played Game 1? Yeah,
give him a shot.
Let's just take the entire regular season, those 82 games that we played earlier this year. Fuck it. Just throw all that
give him a shot, baby.
Window, and let's just fucking switch everything
Naz
up.
Reed,
that's the spirit. That's the spirit, baby.
Let's get Rob Dillingham.
Terrence Shannon is electric.
Yeah.
I why he's not getting touches.
That dude.
Terrence Shannon played for Illinois, baby. He was good in March Madness.
So fucking stupid right now. You don't get to the fucking Western Conference Finals and then like make wholesale changes. Be like, yeah, fuck it.
You do in your $40 million center. Well, I mean, yeah.
I was trolling there.
For the
I was trolling there.
Rudy has to play better.
It was announced today. Let's not ignore. We can look at the positives. He was announced to the second all-defensive team. And that was announced. I missed that until earlier, but second all-defensive team, I need that in the Western Conference Finals, brother. I'm not asking for an MVP-like performance, but I need 5. Go get yourself 5 rebounds over Chet. Let's see it happen. I was trolling. I don't take him out. I don't take him out. I don't agree with taking him out.
He has to. Oh yeah,
and the role players. I'll agree with the role players.
Guys that the team leans on. He's captain of the French team. He is a captain in some capacity, if not the captain of that team. Like, he is a respected player. Go out there and show us why we're paying you $40 million a year to come up here and play defense. Just play defense, dude.
Tip off, boys. Tip off. Go get you game 2.
Good news. Rudy's taking the tip.
Just one of those games. It's just like
Isaiah, I'm pulling for you, brother. I really am. I want the Timberwolves to win.
It's just one of those things, one of those games where the game ends and you just throw the tape away, right? Like, you just got to wipe that shit from your memory and move on to the next, right? Because I think, yes, you can nitpick and try and point fingers at one specific player, but in reality, the entire team, except Julius Randle, played awesome.
And Julius Randle disappeared in the second half, unfortunately.
I'll agree.
I mean, had an all-pro first half.
I'll agree. And I don't know how that coach does things. I mean, for all we know, I don't think he's a Thibodeau type level. It's probably making him run and watch film and whatever he does. I don't think that'd be a bad way to go about it either. You know, like, hey, let's reset. Let's take some time. We know the game plan. We know the execution. We did it all year. You know what you get paid to do. And kind of leave it at that. That might be a good way to go about it, honestly. I mean, if that's the way the players work, some players work that way, some players don't.
Because honestly, Game 1 reminds me a lot of the one game that we lost to the Lakers, where we shot 5 of 25 from 3. made 5 threes the entire game, scored 85 points that game. And then we came back and won the next 3 games convincingly. So I think they just got to take the same attitude or same approach as they did in that game and hopefully apply it here.
Let's hope so, baby.
But all I know is I really am dreading the thought of going back to Minnesota 0-2. That is never a position you want to be in.
Still Thunder and 6 for me, boys.
Yeah, at that point, you either got to win 4. I mean, it's 2-0 is a tough, man. It is tough to come back from.
They do say a postseason series doesn't start until a road team wins.
That's fair.
I like that.
That's real fair. You come up with that?
So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
No, he came up with that. Nostradamus or something.
Michael
Plato said that.
Socrates is all over it. Oh, we got an official down, boys. We got an official bleeding on the court right now. Minute and a half.
Minute and a half in, babe.
Huh.
All right, boys. Are we good on this series? We got more to add?
Yeah. Anything else?
Well deserved.
Shay's MVP
well deserved.
want to mention?
Jokic obviously is a freak. They talked about voter fatigue. They talked about, but I mean, he proved it in these playoffs. Whatever the foul baiting nonsense, people want to talk about that. That's fine. He's not doing it any more than anybody else has. It's not to the level of Harden in 17, 18, when he would bait a guy in and jump into him from 12 feet away. Like that. It's not that. Shea is a superstar. Shea is everything the league needs. Also Canadian, another international MVP. We got to keep that in mind about the state of basketball in America.
I agree.
There hasn't been a U.S.-born player to win MVP since James Harden.
There probably won't be.
2018. Shea did break one, and Shea broke one streak, though. He is the first guard to win MVP since James Harden that year. So maybe the little guys, but Shea's 6'7", so I guess you can't really constitute him as a little guy.
I thought it was close before the series, before they went head to head. If you told me Jokic won it before then, like let's say they announced it before the series, I wouldn't have had any issues with it. I mean, he averaged a triple. Whatever he did, it was phenomenal. But after that series, you mix that in with a little voter fatigue that might be occurring. You get Shea just outshining in that last game. It was his to lose at that point. I mean, I would have bet a bank account on him winning MVP after that series. It was just that. Plus, yeah, it was bound to happen. I think well deserved. I looked up his career stats last night. The dude's been phenomenal. I think he's slept on. The way I see it too is we're talking about baiting fouls. I think it's an issue too. It was an issue with Harden. But I also think we don't respect game like we should. Like I didn't respect Kobe a lot just because I didn't like the Lakers and I didn't like his style of basketball at that time. And afterwards, obviously, I respect it. I think Shea is a very, very good player. That can be a superstar in this league for 4, 5, 6 years to come.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I will say one thing. I was gonna say the one thing I didn't realize. To your point, Rob, I hadn't realized that SGA this is his 3rd straight year averaging more than 30 points.
Not easy at all.
It's not easy, man.
Like I feel like that is very much going under the radar.
Especially with the role players the last 3 years, it's not like he's the second option and someone else is getting double teamed. Like Shea's been a problem. He's been that guy. And OKC scores and bursts, and a lot of times Shea has a lot to do with it, whether it's elbow shots, the foul baiting, whatever it may be. But
just give him the
he's
ball
a dog at the end of the day.
But can we talk about the timing of the MVP? What I texted you guys about? Why was it announced at 2:00 Central on a Wednesday?
I didn't mind it.
And then pregame for this game, they're giving him the MVP trophy, which has been tradition in the past of this. But like, hey man, I got a game we got to go win. I'm trying to win an NBA Finals. Like we can't do this before or after the playoffs.
I think
you'd
with
think
Jokic
this,
being out, it made that happen quicker, if that makes sense.
you would think
Because
like
you don't want some
that,
guy to lose the MVP and still be playing in the playoffs, right? That's not a good look.
but don't in baseball, like if you win the Cy Young or a Silver Slugger, they present it to you at the start
Yeah.
of the next season
Or like do the
for this
NFL
specific
honors type
reason.
thing.
But
Yeah,
some,
but MVPs announced quicker though, right?
but
You know
the
the
thing
AL and
is,
NL MVP way before that.
so everybody says that the voting for MVP occurs prior to the end of the regular season or before playoffs start,
No
at
chance.
least
No
Allegedly.
chance.
allegedly. If that is the case, why are we waiting until the start of the Western Conference Finals to announce that? What if the player isn't in still? You're just gonna have a random post press conference,
Like
give him the award.
I think they knew. God forbid Jokic or somebody goes out there and tears an ACL game 1 of the playoffs, and you still give him MVP. I just think this is just speculation, but I feel that they take a peek at
I
the
think the playoffs
playoffs.
have it.
That's just my thought process.
I think if
But
we're sitting here
I could be
watching
100%
Nuggets
wrong.
T-Wolves, Jokic is MVP. I truly think there's no way they don't take playoffs in.
I think it'd be close.
If they were waiting until that specific date and Jokic is still in the playoffs, he wins MVP. Recency bias, probably, but it's the truth.
Rob, exactly what you said before. Gobert went up for a rebound and literally looked like he hadn't touched a basketball before. Goes right off
It's
his
just a
hands.
toddler
lost.
grabbing a ball for the first
Somebody
time,
get that
baby.
kid a map quest.
It's hilarious.
He is having some off the
He
court
might be
issues,
first team all
boys.
deadbeat
We don't have
dad.
to. It's been
We
in the
don't know
news.
If they're
Jesus.
according to the reports, he said,
Jesus
"See ya" to a 1-year-old, and I mean,
What an
I
accusation!
mean, listen, I'm just saying what I've read.
I said off-court troubles, and you said you went dead.
If the reports are true, it's not a good vibe for Rudy Gobert, and maybe
Wow.
that's where the struggles are coming from.
I mean, there's a lot of off-court. I don't sleep on off-the-court issues. I think it affects every player differently.
Bad
Who
beat.
knows?
So moving.
What do we got, boys?
Let's talk some hockey quick. Rob, I know you're not a big hockey guy.
I'll watch the game.
We don't have to linger too much on it, but I feel like it is worth discussing, even if it's just for a little bit, with the performances that we saw in Game 1. So, for those unaware, the Dallas Stars and Oilers are in the Western Conference Finals. So, Dallas was down 3-1 at the start of the third period of that game. They proceeded to score 5 unanswered in the third to come back and take the game or win the game. And it was the Stars' 6th comeback win of this postseason already, which in the history of the NHL is already the most in a single postseason, which is crazy considering it's the first game of the Western Conference Finals. But I think the biggest storyline from this series, and it's kind of been an ongoing thing for the Oilers, is how bad their penalty kill has been recently. Game 1 last night, they went 1 for 4 on the PK, 25%, which is awful. But this goes back to even last series against Vegas. And just overall in the postseason, they're killing penalties at a below 70% clip. Regular season, they were almost at 80%, which, grand scheme of things, was still middle of the pack in the NHL. But to drop 12%,
it's significant.
That's drastic, right? And it's even worse when you look at just on the road. It's 50-50 shot. Their opponent scored.
And you can't win like that.
Or a power play.
And truthfully, it was their problem last year too. They don't have the legs. Last year playoffs. I mean, they started to lose the ability to go out there and skate hard. Like, and I don't know if they just, it's their rotations are the issue. I don't know what the deal is, but they always seem to run out of gas late into it. And I mean, they're running their guys into the ice, man.
The funny thing the funny thing you saying that though was one of the bigger storylines coming into this series was depth. It was a depth question, and it was actually opposite of what you're saying. They thought the Stars didn't have enough forward depth, or at least scoring depth,
Sure,
in their bottom six to keep up with the Oilers. And I feel like they completely flipped the script on that one in Game 1. Fun fact from the Dallas perspective, to back up that depth point, 81% of their goals so far this season have been accounted for by 5 players. Whereas the Oilers have had 14 forwards score a goal already this postseason.
Put me
Can
in,
you
coach.
skate?
No, but I do want to give you guys an update. It's 3-0 right now.
Man, that's what you get for your illegal streams, because it
The
is
Panthers.
most definite. Oh, I thought we were talking about the Wolves game.
My bad, boys. I was keeping up with live. That's on me. You said you must be using illegal. I'm watching last year's stream.
I was gonna say your video
Rob's
must be
watching a
for
replay on
while
YouTube
now.
from 2015. That's what he's got pulled up right now.
Yeah, highlight video. I'm like, they're scoring
It's
a lot of
really
goals,
high-scoring
man. I will say to you guys and to anyone listening, I am looking for a team. I know I talked to her
I tried
about
to
it.
convince him to come be a Blackhawks fan.
I'm looking for a team. I want to choose a team. Yeah,
Are you trying to match make with an NHL team
like
right
it.
now on our podcast? Like going to the highest bidder or something?
Yeah, if a Ducks fan comes to me and says, "Hey," or an Avalanche fan says, "Hey, we're nitty gritty, we're this, we're that. You know, you want to be a part of this?" I'm
you
listening.
Strike me
baby.
as an Ottawa fan. I feel like Rob is just
I am
born and bred to be an Ottawa.
Let's just say I'm an NHL fan free agent, baby.
Oh no, I'm definitely getting some Nashville Buffalo vibes personally.
And I will say the Minnesota Wild.
Yes.
Is that what they're called?
Yes.
Doesn't do it for me. Color scheme.
Rob's looking at a
It's just not it, bro. I probably will. Right now we're leaning. Woj just came out, and so the Woj of the NHL just said we're leaning towards the Ducks.
Because
Estevez. Nice little Disney movie in the '90s. Yep. And wearing a Mighty Ducks jersey would be nice.
You're giving the Wild crap for their color scheme.
You do know the Anaheim Ducks are not yellow and green, right? Like your Charlie Conway jersey.
But I know I can buy a throwback uniform. No, it'll be my staple. What are you talking about? I don't need to buy 6 NHL jerseys. I just need 1. Maybe 2.
Home and alternate.
Yeah, give me a throwback. Give me the Mighty Ducks throwback, baby.
With the old school duck.
Yeah, teal and purple is nice. Yeah. Tell me that's not, as a fans of the teams you guys are fans of, tell me that's not a good logo and a good
Blackhawks are better.
Good hockey jersey. Now, when I look up the Minnesota Wild, I don't know. I don't understand the game plan here. And it's not the shit on your team.
He doesn't understand what Minnesota has going on, Isaiah.
Do you, Irv? Can you fill me in as a non-Minnesota Wild fan?
They're matching these Reds with the Twins, brother. That's all it is. Keeping up with the wildlife theme of the Timberwolves.
It's red and green. I get that. It's a green logo. The logo doesn't look like a wolf. What is it? I have no idea. It doesn't look like a wolf. The Iowa Wild looks like a wolf. This does not look like a wolf.
It's supposed to
Maybe
represent
I
the
didn't know if you were
wilderness.
glitching or if you
Okay,
had,
but
if
the
you
Not
had
shape
act
is of
like
an
the
animal.
bear.
You look like you were getting animated about this logo conversation.
Yeah. It looks like
I'm glad I was muted, honestly.
all right. Let's just say the Minnesota Wild aren't top
Dang.
5
It's
for
like
me.
the conversations that people will always call out a Minnesota accent and make it seem like it's so dramatic. Like, you betcha there, big bud, huh? You know how we do up there
That's
in the Great
because
White North.
that's because you
You
got
go
12
north of
cousins
Minneapolis, you'll
sound
hear
like
that.
Isaiah.
No, that's Alabama.
Alabama.
And you had 12,000
Minnesota
lakes
of the
to swim
South.
in. I wouldn't
I
go that
would.
far. I don't know where Herb's going. I just know you guys have a lot of lakes. And the Mall of America isn't all it's cracked out to be.
Taking
That's all
shots
I
at an
know.
institution.
We are
Otherwise,
shots at an
huge
institution.
Minnesota fan.
we are going down a Minnesota torture chamber right now. So we'll pull it back here. Other NHL playoff series going on: Panthers, Hurricanes. I'm ready to call
I
this
told you what it was going to be.
series. Herb, the Panthers. The Panthers look full on wagon at this point. I don't think they can be stopped. I thought it was going to be a tight series with the Hurricanes. They both play a very gritty, defensive-minded style, but I think the Panthers just have too many offensive weapons. You can look up and down that lineup, and there are players that can score on every single line. Whereas the Hurricanes, I feel like their forward group is a little bit more top heavy, and they're relying on those guys a little bit. And it's not like they were scoring a ton to begin with, right? Panthers, I feel like, have the best of both worlds. Plus, they have Bob in net right now, who is doing his classic playoff Bob thing and just standing on his head. I think there was a stretch at one point during that game where the Canes had like 20 or 25 straight shot attempts, and the Panthers didn't have any. And Bob just stood on his head, brick wall, held steady until Florida could get their skates under him again.
He is the best
that was it.
goalie in the playoffs. Hands down, no question to ask. Every year this comes around, we're wondering who's going to be the best goalie. I don't know why we even question it anymore. It's him. He's a freak. That entire roster is a freak. There's a stud on every single line. There's a scorer on every single line. Sam Bennett is, crushing it. The elbow, whatever, but Florida is unbeatable. Three-peat incoming. Load it, clip it, stamp it.
Well, unfortunately, this would be back to back, so they'd
Uh,
have to do it
at
again
this
next
point,
year
fine.
for that to come true.
At this point,
Oh,
fine.
he's predicting the
At
future.
this point, fine. My bad. I thought
He's talking about
I
next
thought they'd
year.
gone back to back
Isaiah,
already.
he's
That's
talking
not
about
me.
next
But screw it. Give it to him in 26 too. Don't quote me on that.
Hey, don't quote him.
Don't quote me on that.
Don't quote him,
You
brother.
want to count them for 26 and they keep this roster together? Yeah, fine. I don't care about the age. I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, I
Three-peat, book
don't
it.
disagree with you.
May of 2025.
I do believe Marchand and Bennett are free agents this offseason. They may have more, but I know those two off the top of my head. And I don't feel like Marchand is sticking around.
He was
could
probably a
see him
rental.
going back to Boston, to be honest with you. I think Bennett will more
I think they need to make Bennett a
stick
priority
around.
in the offseason.
But yeah. Yeah, I don't know what their salary cap looks like right now, but it seems like they've been able to maneuver it pretty well over the course of like the trade deadline and being able to take on that
Thank
Seth
you.
Jones contract and everything. I think they have a good grip on their salary cap and everything. But I want to make one point, and I feel so bad saying this coming from a Minnesota sports fan because all our franchises know how to do is break our heart. Like the Twins went however many playoff games in a row without winning. I think it was like 17 or 18, something like that. The Hurricanes have now lost 13 straight games in the conference finals, going back all the way to
And think about it.
2009.
You went from Minnesota to North Carolina,
They-
my friend. You're the kiss of death?
I know,
Are
maybe
you the
I
kiss of
am the
death?
bad juju.
I mean, it sounds like it was already bad before then.
Yeah, they have gone. This will be their fourth Eastern Conference Finals appearance since 09. They got swept in the first three and just lost the first game of this series. And it sounds like they're on their way to losing their second game.
They're going to
of
lose this game,
series.
boys.
So make it 14. Make it an even 14. So that I felt like was just a crazy stat. And it's got to be something that is they're thinking about in the
It
back
can't
of
be
their
fun.
minds during these games. Like
It can't be
pressure
any kind of
on-
fun the position they're in
No.
right now. And then you got to go out there.
It's a topic.
I mean,
It's a
you gotta
topic
go out
in
there and
pregame
punch her up
speeches.
against the Florida Panthers. It's just the tough part is playing them unless you're mentally locked in, which things like that hanging over your head, you're probably not. Like, good luck.
Yeah, but that series is good as over if the Panthers hold on to game 2, winning both games on the road in Carolina. That is known to be absolutely ruckus and just one of the loudest stadiums to play in. To lose both games at home,
Nope.
there ain't no coming back. They might not even come back to
There's a good
Carolina
chance.
for another game. They might be going straight to the offseason. Was getting into NFL news. There's not a ton to cover here, but I feel like the big thing going around was the tush push and it surviving for another year. The vote was 22-10. And Rob, let me get this out before we get any type of rebuttal. So it feels like a known fact around the league that the Green Bay Packers, of which you are a fan of, were the ones that proposed
Proudly.
banning
Go ahead.
the tush push. The vote was 22 for banning it, 10 against banning it. Do you want to take a wild guess of what the score of the Philadelphia Green Bay playoff game was last year?
I think we lost by 10 or 12, right?
Yeah, you lost by 12. You want to take a guess at what the score was?
Is the same as the vote for the tush push, right?
It is for sure the same vote as the tush push. 22-10. And that just feels extremely
Believe me, boys.
ironic.
I got a heavy rebuttal coming.
I
So
don't even
you better
know if
come locked and loaded. If you guys are coming this way, you better come locked and loaded because I got some facts coming in.
Okay, hit us with the facts. That's all I had on my
All right. First off, let's all admit the tush push sucks ass. Herb, you're an
I'm at
agreement.
the point of
Give me
if
something.
this is what it is. I'm not a fan.
It's not
of the
good for
play,
football. Yeah, we live with it, which I'm that way too, but we can admit it's very hard to stop. It's more rugby than it is football, and we are just that, American football. Secondly,
it's too good, so they have to ban it, is what you're saying.
no, but you're ignoring the fact that 22 teams voted to ban it. It's not just like the Packers voted to ban it. 22 teams in the NFL said ban it. I don't like the formation as a whole. I mean, we can get into the nitty gritty of that. I don't like the formation as a whole. I don't like if you're lining up in a formation that's similar to that, you're doing a kneel down of some sort. I mean, we did see them. They're starting to obviously do fakes out of it. We're seeing some passes out of it. Next thing you know, it's going to be rugby style and we lose the football. And next thing we know, it's lateral twice downfield. I just don't think it's a football play as a football fan. But as far as the Packers submitting for it, there's also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Diana Rossini. She's a NFL reporter for The Athletic, and she reported through her sources
put your tinfoil hat on for
that
me, there's some Illuminati stuff.
Okay, an NFL reporter said that there was a lot of the NFL, because let's remember the Green Bay does not have an owner. So there is a lot of the NFL behind the scenes, from what I gathered, wanting there to be a vote, and the Packers was easy to push to that door. Because if you look at who played the Eagles the best when you're talking about playoffs or even in the regular season, the Packers played them pretty well. To lose by 12, and the Commanders, you saw how that game ended up, and you saw how the Super Bowl ended up. So if you're talking about a playoff run, what team played them the best? I would say the Packers. But behind closed doors, it was more along the lines of the NFL kind of, whether Roger Goodell, whoever, kind of wanted a vote to take place, and for it to take place with Green Bay submitting it. I mean, that's the facts, according to a reporter. Now, if you put you can put your tinfoil hat on, and I know I told you about it, Herb. If you put your tinfoil hat on, who more would you want to maintain the level of football play that you want to see other than the Mecca of football, baby? I mean, the trophy's named after us, for God's sakes.
It's named after your coach.
So
calm down.
And the draft was there this year. And also, the biggest thing was 21 other teams voted to do it as well. So it's not, and I don't understand why some of the teams didn't vote it, like a Ravens team or a Tua. I mean, Tua can't get hit again, brother. So why are you voting for the tush push? I just don't think it's good for football. I live with it. I'm like Herb. I live with it that it's here. And I'm fine with it. Figure out a way to stop it. I'm all for that. But I just don't think it's a football play, true and true. That's just my take on it.
See, yes, it is. I agree. It's an extremely annoying play to watch, but I feel like you can't take it to that degree of actually banning a play. I feel like that would be similar to telling a pitcher.
We did have a rule against it.
You can't throw a slider anymore.
To add to your point, Isaiah, right there, I agree. I don't think, because that's the start of it, right? Trickle down effect. We ban a play. We already changed the kickoff rules. I like freedom, and I like it in the NFL. I agree with that. But I think it was up until 2004, 2006-ish. Don't quote me on that. There was a rule that you couldn't aid the runner from behind or carry him, right, Herb? I think it was aid or carry the runner.
As a lineman,
and the NFL came together.
Facilitate him forward. The runner. You cannot facilitate the runner forward.
Yeah, and anyone from behind can't. Yes.
Then what do you call back in the day where a runner will go and then you'll get stood up and then all the linemen come crashing?
I think that's
they were trying to get away from doing that.
I think that's trying to get away from it, but the NFL, from the report I read, for one, the referees were never calling it. So it was like one of the least called penalties, and it was a 10-yard penalty. And I think the referees were like you said, if someone gets stood up in the A gap, and all of a sudden, the quarterback starts to try to help him to push him through or something, And I think let's admit that is different than a tush push. It just is. But I think that I don't like limiting a play. I don't like banning a play, but I do admit that I don't like the tush push. I think I don't like to use the word fair. It's not fair to the other team because obviously it is. They can do it too. But I don't, from a fan perspective, it's just not good. Like if you see a QB sneak on the 1 yard line and they get in, perfect. I don't want to see 3 or 4 people in the backfield helping that QB get in, especially lining up where they're lining up. At what point do we start putting the backup guards back there at that position and start having them push through? If you want to do it, do a QB sneak. Otherwise, I think, let it ride. But obviously, we're dealing with it. I didn't know that rule either. That was a good learning experience for me. Herb obviously said it was 75% of the league has to vote yes. Sorry, but 22 teams in the NFL that voted against it. That seems like a lot for at least nothing to take place. It seems kind of crazy. I don't know if they could lower that threshold a little bit.
It's not like baseball's going to tell pitchers they can't throw sliders. So what does the NFL do?
Although they did say you can't throw a spitball anymore.
I'm sorry, it's
So I guess
not
they
Make
kind
it
of
an
changed
illegal
it.
1920.
formation. Make it now. If the running back wants to run up,
Well,
how about the biggest thing that I could do? You can meet in the middle with it. Is make it
so
an illegal
that's my
formation.
point that I'm getting to.
If you're in that formation, you have to run
That's
a
the point
QB
I'm getting
sneak.
to. So you can't just outright
Yeah,
ban a play because
go
everybody's
ahead.
allowed to run that play. Or everybody has a capability of running that play. So if the NFL truly wants to get rid of it, they're going to start penalizing it by putting in that's either going to be an illegal formation or the blocking in the back to aid the runner. That's how the NFL fixes it. But the NFL doesn't have the stones to. They wanted to use a proxy like the Packers to try and get this thing moving forward. So there's a chance we could see the death of it, but not the official death of it, if that makes sense.
Because, like, for instance, if Jalen Hurts lines up and let's say Saquon, he does a quarterback sneak and Saquon runs up behind him and pushes him, that's fine for me. When you're lining up next to the quarterback, angled like that, to me, that's a quarter. That's a kneel to an extent. So yeah, I think the way you address it in a good way without actually banning it is just making it like you make everything else, making it an illegal formation. I mean, they made so many things in illegal formation now. You saw how they're cracking down on right tackles, right foot, and their left tackle's left foot being back too far. They cracked down on that this year. But I don't. They just won the Super Bowl. I don't know, bro.
One final thing I'll say on the topic um, that I think is my biggest gripe with it is the fact that we will look back in 15 to 20 years and there will be people out there that give Jalen Hurts so much think his career is so much better than what it was because they'll look at his stats and he'll easily probably retire with the most career rushing touchdowns as a quarterback just due to the sheer amount of tush push touchdowns that he got. And it's going to completely skew people's, especially Philadelphia Eagle fans, opinion of him in the grand scheme of quarterbacks in NFL history. And that
I
is
think
what
he's.
I'm not here for.
I agree with you, and I'm one of the fans that, because every year when I go into the year, I rank my quarterbacks. I usually give Herb a top 10 or top 15. And I look at that specifically. But you were absolutely correct that in 10, 15 years, when you have a quarterback that's hot, and you're like, okay, who's done this before? And then you look up Jalen Hurts rushing touchdowns, and all of a sudden he has more than Lamar and Josh Allen, and you're thinking in your head, okay, Jalen Hurts might have been a better rusher. So if you don't subtract the tush push, which I don't subtract it completely, but I take it into my consideration. But I agree. It could definitely skew the record books.
And
At
that's a
the end
good
of the
reminder,
day,
you Saquon Barkley fantasy owners, that Jalen Hurts is a goal line touchdown merchant. Sucks. It sucks for Saquon.
Well, if you remember, I'm pretty
still
sure
had a
it
great
didn't
year.
hurt him. Yeah, it
Could have a
didn't
few more
hurt him last
touchdowns.
year.
But we've seen other running backs struggle. Like I think what was it before that? DeAndre Swift, right? And I think he did hurt from that. I think he did truly. He's obviously not as good as Saquon. I think Saquon overcame it, but it definitely hurts a running back to have your quarterback taking anywhere from 5 yards out. He's doing the tush
I
push.
mean, we're
I mean,
tush
it hurts the
pushing on
running back
the
completely.
42 going in.
I mean, you can even look at Buffalo. I mean,
You were doing it in midfield.
Buffalo and Baltimore, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who are not big tush push guys for the most part. And the impact it had on their running backs up until just last season when Derrick Henry came into the fold and James Cook kind of took that next step. They were usually the leading rushers on their teams and led the team in rushing touchdowns.
I think you have a good point there too. I think there's when people look at stats and look at running back rankings and things like that, they get super focused on the number. Oh, this guy had 1,300 yards. I look at it as a fact, and maybe I just do a little bit more digging than others. For instance, James Cook. You got to admit, Josh Allen doing these runs and these things like that hurts James Cook as a role of. If he was a workhorse and a Todd Gurley type cat, we would see a lot more stats coming his way. But I think Josh Allen being able to be creative with the football, it's great for the team, but from an individual level, it's definitely affects his stats. And I think that's something you got to consider if you're trying to rank running backs. I mean,
It's starting to affect his money
that's just
too.
how I see it. For instance, like when I look at CD's numbers, this is related, trust me. But when you look at someone like CD Lamb and you take his stats, and then you look at, for instance, wide receivers, you got to look at how much they're getting the ball. And if they're getting 15 throws a game and you're trying to compare it to, let's say, Justin Jefferson that year that was getting it 7 times a game, 8 times a game, you got to take that into consideration when you're trying to rank your wide receivers, because obviously the other guy had a little bit more opportunities. And maybe the other team had a better number 2, things like that. But do your digging, boys.
Rob, a big efficiency
Rob's over there
guy.
crunching the numbers.
Yeah,
He's doing the math.
do your
He's
digging,
doing the
boys.
science.
Yeah. I crunched Isaiah. I know this is don't quote us, but all day long I'm looking up stats.
Hey,
Man.
you want to say a little
That's what I
louder
do.
for your day job?
I do rankings. I have an Excel sheet on my work computer.
And to bring us home here, some big news coming in college football. They have officially voted to do away with the god-awful seeding that they rolled out last year in the college football playoff, where they gave the 4 highest rated conference winners the top 4 seeds, and then ranked the rest of the field by where they finished in the final season or final poll, which didn't make sense from the onset. I think everybody knew that didn't make sense. So I do agree with them making the change, although I am a little nervous in terms of the impact that it will have on any conference that's not the SEC and Big Ten.
So help me understand it before I give my take on it. And I didn't have a chance to look at it today because it was announced this afternoon. I saw the headline. So if a team like, for instance, Boise State goes undefeated, they're in the playoffs, they're going to get seeded higher than somebody that went
Not
9-2.
So last year it would come down to end of year ranking. So the highest
AP
ranked
rankings.
the highest ranked group of 4 team will still make the playoff. But let's say they finish the season at 16, for example, like they lose a couple games, but they're still the best non-power 4. They would automatically get the 12th seed.
Okay.
I got you. So if they're the last in this AP standings, they're going to be last in the playoffs, right?
Yep. But if they finish like 8th, then they would finish at 8th or be
So here's it laid out a little bit better. The 2024 college football playoffs. Ohio State, Notre Dame. My apologies. Oregon, Georgia, Arizona State, and Boise all got byes, right? They were the top 4 seeds. If you take this new model that they're going to be doing and retroactively put it to last year, the top 4 teams that get a bye are Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State. How we all kind of thought it should have been. Because there's no reason Arizona State and Boise State should have got byes.
Okay.
You should be playing in the first round, fighting for your life.
But we're still going to get teams. But we're still going to get teams that maybe won their conference that make it in. They weren't top 10 or top 12.
No, they'd have to be top 20. They'd have to be
one singular 12. Team. One. No, so there's still an automatic bid for the highest.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Non-group of 5 team.
So that allows for your Boise State, your Cincinnati, your one of those to sneak in there.
Yes.
I guess Cincinnati's Big 12 now. Yeah.
Well, Cincinnati's in the Big 12 now. But yeah, so that is what we're saying. So I think it goes back to, again, hurting the little guys, never getting a fair shake of it all, honestly. But I think we'll get better football this way. It felt like the first 2 rounds of last year's playoff was blowouts on blowouts.
It wasn't
Like
good.
I don't,
No, it was a
I
mess.
don't think there was a close game.
Like
There might have
SMU
been,
got
there might have been one
mollywopped.
close game.
It was bad.
And while I'm a fan of having a team,
And they look good all
like
season.
SMU in, the big thing is those first round buys, and there's no reason Boise State, Arizona State, Big 12 winner. I kind of got the argument, but Boise State shouldn't have had a first round buy, and I like Boise State. But at the end of the day, the top 4 teams in the country should get
And
buys.
also, on top of that, how unfair was it to Oregon, who finished the number 1 overall seed, go undefeated in the regular season? Their first playoff game is against Ohio State. In what world is that?
In reality, it should have been the winner of Tennessee SMU.
It essentially feels like, yeah, it feels like they're totally discrediting, or they, at least last year, discredited what the regular season was.
Yeah, 100%. I think college football needed to do this.
I mean, my take on it, I think it needed to happen as well. I think I agree with it without digging into it too much. But I agree with Isaiah that, I mean, we see it with the NIL way of doing things now. The little guys are going to be kind of shanked, I feel like. And the bigger teams are going to get more money. They're going to get better seating. It's going to be hard to make it the Boise States of the world. If you're not in the Power 5 conference and things like that, it's rough. But then you take into consideration the flip side of that. Who's Boise State playing all year compared to who Alabama's playing all year and things like that. So, and that's been my thing. For instance, on Aston Genty, I was just not high on him just because of the level of playing field. But I agree, it's tough for the little guys. As an Iowa State fan, keep in mind we went 11-3 last year and we were in the Big 12 championship. But as a smaller school, it's rough out here.
I will say it does suck. It does suck that they are doing away with this already without ever getting a scenario where in a Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State has to go to freaking Boise and play on the blue turf, or go to Wyoming and play in their stadium or something absurd like that. That would have been hilarious to watch. In
you imagine Georgia playing Boise State in the snow?
I do like that idea
in Boise. Oh, people would throw a fit. People would throw a fit.
I wish.
Or just going to Ann Arbor, I think, or going anywhere. Seeing a SEC school not in their caliber or not in their, just out of their comfort zone. Obviously I love the blue field for Boise State, but just anywhere, seeing a Big Ten matchup versus SEC. I mean, just seeing some good football. I'm surprised they made this move this early, but I'm not. I'd rather them make it too early than wait 10 years to make a change, I guess.
Yeah, it really felt like they were going to let this kind of play out for a couple seasons. Like, shit, they made the BCS system roll out knowing everybody hated it.
I miss that. I miss it.
Over a decade.
I miss when Bulls meant something, brother.
Like,
That's just me.
We're going to have the change in seeding this year. Then next year or the year after that, we're going to have them,
which we just did last year,
in the field, make it 8 teams. Or make it 14 teams or 16 teams, whatever the number they're proposing. It's like, at some point, enough is enough, right? Like, I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, I've heard great things about how the FCS does their playoffs and the 64 teams and whatnot. But
yeah,
they do it like a March Madness bracket, right? Kind of.
Yeah, but even now with college
football, hell yeah, bring that in, baby.
If you're making it to the title game, you're playing 17, 18 games now, right? That's just a lot of wear and tear. At least the kids now are making NIL money to kind of offset that a little bit. But
give me the AP top 24 in a bracket.
That could be
Let's do it.
Wouldn't that be? Tell me, of bad games again.
I mean, you might, depending on the seeding, but also you'd have some Cinderella stories,
State
right?
Comes running in, baby.
I mean, but the thought is obviously at football games. The thought is, you were like, for instance, you're never going to see a Sac State against Alabama. The thought of that happening and then running Alabama off. I mean, that's a good storyline. But you're right. It's football is a little bit more physical sport than basketball, and we love it during March Madness. But no one likes to see bad football either. But the more college football, the better for me. That's kind of how I feel. But I do want to see good games.
Yeah, we can't have the matchups of SMU playing in the second round, just getting, Boise in the second round getting just railroaded. I mean, nobody wants to see that. At least we'll see good football.
And before we leave college football, I do want to remind Herb that Iowa State beat his quarterback in the Pop-Tart Bowl. So.
Yeah, that's a tough one because Cam Ward didn't come out for the game-winning drive. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to swallow for the number one overall pick. I think nobody talked about it. I'm trying to look past it. Thanks for reminding me.
I'm with John Gruden on this one. This is just way too early. Rocco backed Heisman candidate, baby.
You heard Gruden say that today, and that you really clung to that.
We can go on.
Oh my God!
I agree. I agree, baby.
Make
Clip
sure
it,
to clip
save
that.
it. Don't
clip
quote
that,
us.
so
Don't.
when-
Come back.
don't
Come back
quote
November,
us.
baby. Come back November. Check in.
when the
Losing his
wheels
top
fall
2 wide
off this
receivers and
season.
still goes out and gets it done.
That would be shocking. That's without a question. But guys, that will wrap it up for episode number 1. Thank you all for listening, and if you could please like, comment, share,
Sure.
follow us on our socials.
Do it. Tell your tell your priest.
Something that you liked about
Add
it.
me on.
Hey.
Add me on Snapchat.
Hey.
I'm just kidding. Cut that out, Isaiah. Cut that out.
Links in Rob's bio.
Thank you guys. We will catch you again. We'll catch you
See ya.
on Tuesday.
GG.